Life is strangely full of decisions. Endless, constant, relentless decisions. We spend an enormous amount of time making decisions, do we not? What to eat, what to wear, where to go, what to say. But how often do we actually make the decision that matters most? The decision to simply be ourselves. Not the person your parents wanted, not the person society expects, not even the person you think you should be. Just you. Plain and simple you. And here is the funny thing now. The moment you actually make that decision, the moment you truly choose yourself, not out of arrogance or selfishness, but out of a deep recognition of who you actually are, everything begins to change. Not because you are doing something special, but because you stop doing something very unspecial. You stop pretending. So, let me ask you this. When was the last time you looked at your life and honestly asked yourself, am I living this for me or am I living it for them? For the invisible audience in your head that is always watching, always judging, always keeping score. Most of us never even think to ask that question because we are too busy performing, too busy trying to get it right, to make it work, to prove something to someone we will probably never even meet. But what happens when you stop? What happens when you finally choose yourself? Well, let me tell you, it is not what you think. You see, we have been taught that choosing yourself is selfish, that it means abandoning others, ignoring responsibilities, running away to some island where you can sit under a palm tree and forget about the world. But that is not it at all. Choosing yourself is not about rejecting life. It is about accepting it. It is about recognizing that you are not a stranger in the universe, but a part of it. And the moment you accept that, the moment you stop fighting against your own nature, something extraordinary happens. You relax. Now, most people do not know how to relax. They think relaxation means lying on a couch doing nothing. But real relaxation, the kind that changes your life, is not about doing nothing. It is about doing what you do without resistance, without the constant voice in your head saying, am I doing this right? What will they think? Is this good enough? When you choose yourself, that voice starts to quiet down, not because you have defeated it or suppressed it, but because you have stopped taking it so seriously. You have realized that the voice was never yours to begin with. It was just an echo of all the people who told you who you should be. Your parents, your teachers, your friends, your culture. They all meant well, of course, but they were trying to turn you into something that fit their picture, their plan, their idea of what a good life looks like. And the problem is their picture was never meant for you. Think about it. Have you ever tried to force yourself into clothes that do not fit? It is uncomfortable, is it not? You cannot move properly. You cannot breathe. You spend the whole time adjusting, pulling, trying to make it work. That is what most people do with their entire lives. They are walking around in clothes that do not fit, pretending they are comfortable, wondering why they feel so exhausted all the time. Choosing yourself is like taking off those clothes and putting on something that actually fits. And the moment you do, you realize how much energy you have been wasting. All that effort you put into being someone else, into maintaining an image, into proving your worth, it just falls away. And what is left is this simple, easy presence, this sense of being at home in your own skin. But here is where it gets interesting. When you finally choose yourself, when you stop trying to be what others want and start being what you are, people notice. Some of them will not like it. In fact, some of them will be deeply threatened by it because your authenticity reminds them of their own pretending. Your freedom highlights their prison, and that makes them uncomfortable. So they will try to pull you back. They will question your choices. They will tell you have changed. They will say you are being selfish, irresponsible, foolish. And if you are not careful, you will believe them. You will think maybe they are right, that maybe I should go back to the way things were. At least it was safe. At least people understood. But you cannot go back. Once you have tasted real freedom, once you felt what it is like to live from your own center instead of from someone else's expectations, you cannot unknow that. It is like waking up from a dream. You might remember the dream, but you know it was not real. And this is what people do not understand about choosing yourself. It is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. Every morning you wake up and you have to make the choice again. Am I going to live for myself today, or am I going to live for them? Am I going to honor what I know to be true, or am I going to pretend? Most days it is easy. You wake up, you feel clear, you know what you need to do. But some days it is hard. Some days the old patterns come rushing back. The need for approval, the fear of rejection, the desperate desire to fit in. And on those days, you have to be gentle with yourself. You have to remember that choosing yourself is not about being perfect. It is about being honest. Now, let me tell you something that might surprise you. When you choose yourself, when you really commit to it, you do not become more isolated, you become more connected. Because authentic connection can only happen between authentic people. When you are pretending, you can only connect with other people's pretending. It is like two masks talking to each other. But when you are you, because you are being, I recognize my own being. This is what the mystics have always known. We are not separate. We only think we are. And the moment you choose yourself, you begin to see through that illusion. You begin to recognize that the self you are choosing is not this small separate ego. It is something much larger. It is the life itself expressing through this particular form, this particular body, this particular moment. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are a wave in the ocean. For years, you have believed you are just this one little wave, separate from all the other waves, trying to survive, trying to be bigger, trying to last longer. But then one day you realize you are not just a wave. You are the ocean. You have always been the ocean. The wave is just a temporary form, a pattern, a dance that the ocean is doing. When you see this, everything changes. You are no longer afraid of crashing on the shore because you know you are not going to disappear. You are just going to return to what you have always been. And suddenly being a wave becomes fun. It is play. It is the ocean enjoying itself, expressing itself, celebrating itself. That is what happens when you choose yourself. You realize you are not this small frightened thing that needs to protect itself from the world. You are the world. You are life itself. And when you see that, the whole game changes. You are no longer playing to win. You are playing to play. But most people never get there because they are too afraid to choose themselves. They are too afraid of what might happen if they stop pretending. What if I lose my job? What if my family rejects me? What if I fail? What if I am alone? These are real fears. I am not saying they are not. But here is the thing. The life you are living right now, the one where you are not choosing yourself, where you are constantly trying to please others, to meet expectations, to prove your worth, is that really living? Or is it just a slow death? Because when you do not choose yourself, you die a little bit every day. Every time you say yes when you mean no. Every time you smile when you want to scream. Every time you pretend to be happy when you are actually miserable, you are killing something inside yourself, something precious, something irreplaceable, your authenticity. And without authenticity, life loses its flavor. Everything becomes gray, mechanical, automatic. You wake up, you go through the motions, you do what is expected, and then you go to sleep. And the next day you do it all over again. Is that what you came here for? To be a machine? To be a good little robot that does what it is told? I do not think so. I think you came here to be alive, to feel deeply, to love completely, to experience the full range of what it means to be human. And you cannot do that if you are not being yourself. You cannot do that if you are hiding behind a mask, playing a role, following a script that someone else wrote for you. So what happens when you finally choose yourself? You wake up, not gradually, not completely over the year, but suddenly, violently, completely, like someone throwing open the curtains in a dark room and letting the sunlight pour in. Everything you thought was solid starts to dissolve. Everything you thought was important starts to seem trivial. And everything you ignored, everything you pushed aside because it did not fit the plan, that starts to become clear. You begin to see your life as it actually is, not as you have been telling yourself it is, not as others have told you it should be, but as it actually is, right here, right now, in this moment. And maybe you realize you are in the wrong job. Maybe you see that your relationship is not working. Maybe you understand that the life you have built is not the life you want. And that is terrifying because now you have to make choices. Real choices. Not the safe choices. Not the comfortable choices, but the choices that honor who you actually are. This is where most people turn back. They get to this point and they say, no, this is too much. I cannot do this. It is easier to go back to sleep. Easier to pretend everything is fine, easier to keep the mask on, but you cannot. Not really. Once you have seen the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you have felt what it is like to be yourself, you cannot go back to being someone else. The door has been opened, and even if you try to close it, there will always be a crack, a sliver of light reminding you of what you have lost. So you have a choice. You can stay where you are, in the comfortable discomfort of a life that is not yours, or you can step through the door. You can choose yourself fully, completely without apology, and when you do, something miraculous happens. The fear does not go away. The uncertainty does not disappear. The challenges do not magically resolve themselves, but you change. You become present. You become real. You become alive in a way you have never been before because you are no longer divided. You are no longer at war with yourself. There is no longer a part of you that wants one thing and another part that wants something else. You are whole, integrated, complete, and from that wholeness, everything flows. Your work becomes effortless because you are no longer forcing yourself to do things you hate. Your relationships become genuine because you are no longer pretending to be someone you are not. Your life becomes meaningful because you are finally living it according to your own values, your own truth, your own heart. This is not easy. Let me be clear about that. Choosing yourself is perhaps the hardest thing you will ever do because it means letting go of everything you have been taught, everything you have believed, everything you have built your identity around. It means facing your shadows, those parts of yourself you have been trying to hide, to suppress, to deny, the anger you have never expressed, the sadness you have never allowed yourself to feel, the desires you have never permitted yourself to acknowledge. All of that has to come out, has to be seen, has to be integrated. And this process is messy. It is uncomfortable. It is painful. There will be moments when you question everything, when you wonder if you are making a terrible mistake, when you long for the simplicity of your old life, even though it was killing you, but you keep going. You keep choosing yourself day after day, moment after moment, not because it is easy, but because it is true. And slowly something begins to shift. The resistance starts to ease. The fear starts to loosen its grip, and you begin to discover something you never knew was there. Peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from controlling everything, from having it all figured out, from making sure nothing bad ever happens, but the kind of peace that comes from accepting what is, from trusting life, from knowing that whatever happens, you will be okay because you are no longer pretending to be something you are not. This peace is not fragile. It does not depend on circumstances. It does not require that everything go your way. It is there in the good times and the bad times. It is there in success and in failure. It is there when people love you and when they leave you because it comes from within. It comes from that place inside you that has always been there, waiting for you to notice it. That silent center, that still point, that awareness that watches everything but is touched by nothing. When you choose yourself, you discover this center, and once you find it, you realize it is the only thing that matters. Everything else, all the external things you have been chasing, all the goals you have been pursuing, all the approval you have been seeking, they are fine. They are nice to have, but they are not necessary because you already have what you need. You already are what you are looking for. And this changes everything. Your relationships change. Not because you leave everyone behind, but because you show up differently. You are no longer desperate for approval. You are no longer willing to compromise your truth to keep the peace. You are no longer afraid of being alone. And paradoxically, this makes you much better company because you are not needy. You are not clingy. You are not constantly looking for validation. You are just there, present, real, yourself. And the right people, the ones who resonate with your energy, with your truth, with your authenticity, they appear not because you are looking for them, but because like attracts like. When you are being yourself, you naturally attract others who are being themselves. And these connections, these relationships, they are different. They are deeper. They are more satisfying because they are based on truth, not on pretending, not on playing roles, not on meeting expectations. Just two people being real with each other, being human together. Your work changes too. Not necessarily what you do, but how you do it. When you are choosing yourself, you can no longer tolerate work that violates your values, that drains your energy, that makes you feel dead inside. You begin to look for work that aligns with who you are, work that lights you up, work that feels like an extension of your being, not a performance. And when you find it, or when you create it, everything flows. The ideas come easily. The energy is there. The passion is real. Not because you are trying to prove something, but because that is what happens when life flows through you without obstruction. Even your body changes. The tension you have been carrying for years starts to release. The headaches, the stomach problems, the chronic pain, much of it was your body's way of telling you something was wrong, that you were living out of alignment, that you needed to choose yourself. And when you finally do, the body relaxes. It heals because it is no longer at war with itself. It is no longer trying to be something it is not. You start to notice the small things again. The way the light falls through the window in the morning, the taste of your coffee, the sound of birds outside. Things you used to rush past, things you took for granted, they become vivid again. Alive, because you are alive. Not just existing, not just surviving, but actually here, in this moment, fully present. And yes, there are still hard days. There are still moments of doubt. There are still people who do not understand. There are still bills to pay and responsibilities to meet and fears to face. But now you face them as you, not as a character in someone else's story, not as a version of yourself you think you should be, but as the real you, the one who knows what matters, the one who is no longer willing to trade truth for comfort, authenticity for approval, life for performance. You stop apologizing for who you are. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never get it. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. And in that space, something opens up, a kind of freedom you cannot describe until you feel it. A lightness, a joy that does not depend on anything outside of you. It is just there, quiet, steady, real. And the funniest part? The more you choose yourself, the less you need to talk about choosing yourself. It is not a concept anymore. It is not a practice you have to remember. It just is, like breathing, like being. You do not think about it, you just do it. You just are it. People will ask you what changed. They will say you seem different, calmer, happier, more grounded. And you will not have a perfect answer because it is not about one thing. It is not about a technique or a strategy or a life hack. It is about stopping the war. It is about coming home. It is about finally, after all these years, letting yourself be. And here is the secret no one tells you. The world does not fall apart when you choose yourself. It actually starts to make sense. The pieces fall into place, not because you forced them, but because they were always meant to. The right opportunities show up, the right people stay, the wrong ones leave, and you are okay with that. You stop clinging, you stop chasing, you stop performing, you just live. And living, real living, is simpler than we make it. It is waking up and asking, what do I need today? What feels true? What honors this moment, this body, this heart? And then doing that, not perfectly, not all at once, but honestly, one choice at a time. Some days you will forget. Some days you will slip back into old habits, old fears, old masks, and that is okay. That is part of it. Choosing yourself is not about never falling. It is about getting back up. It is about remembering. It is about coming back to center, again and again, as many times as it takes. Because every time you come back stronger, wiser, clearer, more you. And slowly, over time, the distance between who you are and who you pretend to be disappears. There is no gap. There is no performance. There is just presence, just truth, just life moving through you, as you. And when you get there, when you really get there, you realize something profound. You were never lost. You were never broken. You were never wrong. You were just pretending. And now you are not. And that is everything. So here we are. I have told you what happens when you choose yourself. The fear, the resistance, the transformation, the peace, the authenticity, the freedom, the way your relationships deepen. the way your work comes alive, the way your body relaxes, the way the world starts to reflect your truth back to you. I have told you all of it. But now comes the real question. Will you do it? Will you make the choice? Will you commit to living from your truth even when it is hard, even when it is scary, even when no one around you is telling you you are right? Or will you keep pretending? Will you keep wearing the mask? Will you keep living the life that everyone else thinks you should live? The choice is yours. It has always been yours, and it will always be yours. But I can tell you this: life is short, shorter than you think. And every moment you spend not being yourself is a moment lost forever. You cannot get it back. You cannot redo it. It is gone. So why waste it? Why spend your precious time on this earth trying to be someone you are not? Why give your life away to meet expectations that were never yours in the first place? Choose yourself. Not tomorrow. Not when things are more settled. Not when you have more courage. Now, right now, in this moment, choose yourself and see what happens. Look around you. Feel your breath. Notice the weight of your body in the chair, on the floor, wherever you are. This is it. This is your life. Not the one you planned. Not the one they told you to want. This one. Right here. And in this moment, you can decide. You can stop performing. You can stop explaining. You can stop trying to earn your right to exist. You already have it. You always did. You were born with it. It is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. So remember. Remember who you are before anyone told you who you should be. Remember the child who knew joy without reason, who moved without apology, who loved without condition. That child is still there, waiting, watching, hoping you will come back. And coming back is not dramatic. It is not a big announcement. It is not quitting your job or leaving your partner or moving to another country, though it might be, if that is true for you. But usually, it is quieter. It is saying no when you mean no. It is saying yes when you mean yes. It is speaking up when something matters. It is staying silent when words would only perform. It is choosing the meal that nourishes you, the clothes that feel good, the work that lights you up, the people who see you. It is small choices, repeated. Honest choices, brave choices, human choices. And every time you make one, something shifts. A little more space opens, a little more light comes in, a little more of you comes out. You do not need permission. You do not need a sign. You do not need to wait until you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Readiness is a myth. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move anyway. So move. Take one step, then another, then another. Let it be messy. Let it be imperfect. Let it be yours. And if you fall, fall forward. Fall into yourself. Fall into the truth that has been waiting for you all along. Because the truth is, you are enough. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. Not because of what you do, or what you have, or what you achieve, but because of what you are. Life, moving, breathing, being. And when you live from that place, when you choose that, everything else falls into place. Not perfectly, not without pain, not without loss, but with meaning, with presence, with love. Love for yourself first. Not the selfish kind, the real kind. The kind that says, I see you, I honor you, I choose you. And from that love, everything else flows. Love for others, love for work, love for life itself. This is not a destination. It is a direction, a way of being, a daily return, a constant remembering, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes. The quieter the noise gets, the clearer the signal becomes. Until one day you look around and realize you are home, not in a place, not in a person, but in yourself. And that is the greatest freedom there is. So choose it, choose you, choose now. Not because it is easy, not because it is safe, but because it is true, because you are here, because this is your life, because this moment is all there is. And in this moment you can be real, you can be free, you can be you. So be it.